Today we're covering Chapter 8, Lesson 1, Angle Relationships. And our first word is vertex. Vertex is the point where the two rays meet. And we have right angles. And if you look at the little picture, this is their vertex. That's where the two rays come together. And then acute, that's the little one, is less than 90. And then we have the big one. There's the vertex. He's greater than 90. And the straight one makes a straight line that's exactly 180 degrees.
Let's make an angle nice and easy. It's not hard, just follow me. Connect two rays at an endpoint. This is plain geometry. Two's cute and straight. The right one's really great. They're angles you create. Two's cute and straight. The right one's really great. They're angles you create.
We name angles according to their vertex or their endpoint. So, for example, if we had this little acute angle here, if there's a dot there, I'm going to label it B. So that would be angle B. Or sometimes they put a little number inside here, so that would be angle 4. This little line in front, this is the symbol for angle. So that reads angle B or angle 4. And sometimes they have dots on the rays. And they do that because there might be other rays, like there could be another one right here. And we wouldn't want to name that angle B because I wouldn't know which angle you were talking about. See, there's 2 angles now. So we name them with 3 letters. If I want to show this angle right here, I need to name it angle A, B, C. Again, the vertex is in the middle. And if I want to talk about this angle over here, this would be angle C, B, D. The vertex is still in the middle, but I named these angles, these letters, these points, so I know that I'm talking about this angle over here. Our next vocabulary word is vertical. Vertical angles are angles that are opposite, and they are formed by 2 intersecting lines, like we have here on the right. And the angles are across from each other, or opposite each other. Those angles are congruent. So it says angle 1 is equal or congruent to angle 3. They're opposite each other. Think about the butterfly wings. They're opposite each other. And this little symbol right here means congruent. Okay, and also angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, so they are vertical angles. Our last vocabulary word is adjacent angles. And adjacent angles have the same vertex or endpoint, and they have a common side, but they do not overlap. So they have the same vertex and a common side, but they do not overlap. So let's name some adjacent angles that are in our little example here. So angle 1 is adjacent to angle 2. They are right next to each other, is basically what adjacent means. So angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. And angle 2 and angle 3 are also adjacent. And we're just going to keep going around the circle. Angle 3 and angle 4 are adjacent. They're right next to each other. They share a common side and they share a vertex. One more. Angle 1 and angle 4 are also adjacent. Let's look at some examples on the guided practice. The first one says to name the angles in 4 ways. So that would be angle 1 and angle ABC or angle CBA. Or since there's not but 2 rays, we could also call it angle B. Notice that the vertex B is in the middle every time. So what would this one be? Angle 3, angle GHI, angle IHG, or just angle H, since there's not but one angle there. Remember, you can't name it by that if there are other rays, because we would be confused as to which one you're talking about. Number 2, the runways at a local airport are sketched in the figure. Classify angle 1 and angle 2 as acute, obtuse, right, or straight. Well, angle 1 is a big angle, and big angles, it's greater than 90. And remember that little card that I gave you in class? You can use the edge of the card, any corner of a piece of paper, that would be a right angle. If it's smaller than the corner, it's acute. If it's bigger than the corner, it's obtuse. And if it fits perfectly, it's right. So this one is big, so this one is obtuse. Angle 2 is little, so it is acute. Number 3, which of the following letters contain at least one acute angle? Well, I see several acute angles. One of them I see is on the letter A. He also has one right there in the little, inside the triangle part of the A. There's several little angles. The next one says which contains vertical. Vertical means opposite each other. So that is opposite of that. So X has vertical angles. Which contain adjacent angles. That would be an angle next to each other. Well, this one has 2 angles next to each other. Number 4, the time shown on the clock is 12:07. After 20 minutes have passed, will the angle formed be the hour by the hour and minute hands be acute, obtuse, right, or straight? Well, after 20 minutes, that would be 12:27. So this long hand would move down to just past the 5. And so the hour hand's still up here. That would be an obtuse angle because it's bigger than a right. It's more than 90 degrees. Number 5, identify each angle as adjacent, vertical, or neither. And you can write just the first letter. So we're looking at angles 7 and 12. They're right next to each other. Angles that are right next to each other are called adjacent. Then we have 8 and 11. They are across from each other, or opposite each other. That is vertical. And then we have angle 9 and 11. Well, they're not next to each other, and they're not opposite each other, so they would be neither. And then we have angle 10 and 7. They are opposite each other, so that is vertical. Number 6, the plans for a new aquarium call for 2 hallways of exhibits leading out of a circular main room as shown. What is the value of x? Okay, do you see this angle and this angle come together to make a straight angle? And the straight angles make 180 degrees. So if I put this angle over here plus this angle over here, they should equal 180 degrees. Oh, it just doesn't go away. We keep doing this. I bet it doesn't go away all year long. So the first thing we do is move the single guy, move the constant by doing the opposite. We're going to subtract 65 from both sides. The 65's cancel. 5x comes straight down. And 180 minus 65, 115. The next thing we do is divide by 5 on both sides. The 5's cancel, and on the left we have just x equals, what is 115 divided by 5? $23. So x would equal 23. Let's look at the questions you're supposed to be doing by yourself. Okay, number 1 says name 2 angles that are vertical. And I got you kind of started. Angle MPL, so that's angle MPL, that's this one right here. What angle would be vertical to it? That means opposite it. That would have to be this one. So how do we name that? That would be angle NPO. Okay, the next question asks 2 angles that are adjacent. That means they have to be touching each other. And it starts with the same angle, MPL. And which angle, and there's 2 that are touching MPL. I'm going to use this one right here. So that's LPO. Number 3 says determine the value of x. There's the x. So 5x. Now what could that be equal to? Remember, vertical angles are equal to each other, so 5x would be equal to 85. And I'm going to let you solve that by yourself. Number 4, 5, and 6 says, name each angle in 3 ways. Then classify the angle as acute, right, or obtuse, or straight. Use the corner of your paper to identify them, because unless it has this little mark right here, it's not a right angle. If it has a little square in the corner, that means it's right. So you might need to use this corner of your paper to see if number 4 is actually right, if it's acute or obtuse. And you also need to name it in 3 ways. So angle RST, angle TSR, notice the vertex is in the middle, or it could be angle 4. Numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10, you're looking at the diagram on the right, and you're going to pick an acute angle. So let's look at our picture and see if we can find an acute angle. I'm going to use this one right here. It makes a little angle though, that's acute. So angle J, B, C. And there's lots of options for all of them. I'm just giving you that one because that's going to be a quiz question.